right, let's do this. Thank you for bringing here. Steve? It's going to be amazing.
There you go. That's what I said.
Star Wars was the catalyst to a lot of stories and games that I've wanted to tell and had the pleasure of making. It's influenced everything that I've done from a very early age. When I started at Respawn, my mission was to start a new team and build a new game. Very quickly, we got 5 guys. We used to call ourselves Team 5 Guys.
I was here from the very beginning when we started this team. I was here for all the hiring, helped hire the combat team, helped interview other designers for the rest of the design department. We try to hire people that are passionate for wanting to make these games and are just positive people.
Yeah, it's 5 years since I started on this journey. 5 years. Today, actually. Star Wars came in as a wow. Okay. The weight on the shoulders of the team at the time when we started was just, okay, we're doing this. So let's try to do it as well as we can.
I was part of the team that made Titanfall, and then Titanfall 2, and in the midst of that, we decided to have a second team that would create a second game that ended up being Jedi Fallen Order. During the day, I would do Titanfall 2, and at night, I would start working on the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
We were working on a different game for a year and a couple months. One day, we got called into a conference room. They said that we could keep working on this game that we've been developing for a year, or we have this opportunity to build a Star Wars game. We, as a team, got to choose, and it was unanimous. We were a team built to make a melee-centric combat game, and we saw the opportunity to make a lightsaber game, and you don't pass up that opportunity.
The game we hired you to work on, we're not gonna do that game. It's gonna be Star Wars, how do you feel? And I was like, oh my God, it just felt like we hit the lottery.
So Stig came up to tell us about this idea he had and about this team he was building to make a melee-driven action-adventure game. Everyone's mind jumps to Jedi.
So the Star Wars name is Jedi Fallen Order.
Woo! So Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
We learned very early on, Jedi, they're considered the holy grail at Lucasfilm. And we're going to need to earn it every step of the way.
I'm Jared Petty, and this is IGN News. Titanfall developer Respawn Entertainment is working on a new third-person Star Wars game. The project will be led by Stig Asmussen, the former God of War 3 creative director. Asmussen said, "We promise to pay respect to the Star Wars legacy at all times, a fact that will be constantly reinforced and honored as a central game design tenet. Fans should expect the exemplary level of quality first established at Respawn with Titanfall, a game that epitomizes our studio's dedication to slick, larger-than-life action and fun, groundbreaking mechanics."
What started as a team of 5, 4 years ago, is now over 140 developers, all striving to translate Star Wars into that signature Respawn gameplay.
What are you guys looking at?
Parrying against
somebody
non-Z
that's not your
targets.
Z target, and what should happen?
Stig is your Z target pretty constantly. If you parried someone who wasn't your Z target and we switched your Z target for you, how mad does that make you?
I wouldn't want that.
Yeah, okay.
the Mantis, the hero ship. It's kind of like your literal home for the game. You just kind of hop from planet to planet and use the Mantis as the hub. Bounced ideas back and forth with Lucasfilm. They wanted to make it like a nice yacht style ship. That's what the big wing is for. It's kind of like a sail. So it's kind of a level, kind of a character. It's a hybrid of a lot of different stuff. I tried to keep it as close to the same detail style as the original movies. Thought it was really important that we kind of created that consistency between the films and the game. It's really nice to be able to kind of like pick things from other ships and put them on ours. And people have even been able to identify like, oh my God, that's a piece from the B wing or that's a piece from the A wing. So the consistency is there, which is really nice.
Like any other game, we have a lot of abilities that are built into the game. We want to find a really connective way for players to engage with the skill tree and learn the abilities. So you go to these meditation sites that allows you to like gain more and more skills. We've looked at a lot of the Star
A Star Wars title, you become basically part of the Star Wars team. We spend a lot of time coming down to Respawn's offices, meeting with Stig, his team, his leads.
We have the youngling ones, but they're actually really small lightsabers that were used in Episode 3.
The kids that you see Yoda training in Episode 2, I don't know if they built those or if they just like pulled them off a rack.
I think specifically we're talking about the younglings like Sears pack that gets abandoned. They're the ones who have the lightsabers. Also, we don't know those characters.
Yeah.
We work with the developers from really concept all the way through completion on basically everything it takes to tell a Star Wars story in the interactive space.
So there's a lot of character stuff that needs to be reworked and a couple of spoiler things that made it in there. Then the Sir Cordova one we think is stronger. It takes the bones of what was in the book that we all seem to like.
Right. I'm a member of the Lucasfilm Story Group. We are a team that's responsible for overseeing the development across all platforms, whether that's animation, video games, and we make sure that all of that remains continuous and authentic.
What we're looking at this morning is the progress in the Order 66 level. The team has done a really good job putting something together that's playable and representative of where we're headed. So it's a good time for us to give feedback. We are mostly pulling from reference from Clone Wars and Rebels.
If you guys do go with the Rodian, which is totally fine, if you could do the orange skin Rodian rather than the green skin.
I think that was the image that Rich said, but I'll make sure that no one is called out.
We're always so involved in the story, so we know the story like the back of our hand. So actually getting to see, what we've discussed about conceptually put to use, on a screen with somebody physically playing it, it's really cool.
Cal is in the temple and Jaro's in the temple, but what we're seeing in the Jaro fight is more void-like?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
We actually have a sync with Lucasfilm every day on different subjects. Either it's art or just concept art or a script and story and reviewing modeling and animation and rigging.
The primary goal of an animator is to make sure that the character that's on screen feels alive, has a purpose, and basically is fun to watch and to play with. To portray life, you want to portray life as it is, which is, things takes time to move. To translate that into a game, that can be challenging from an animation standpoint. It comes from design. They tell us what they want, and then we go and create some preliminary animation, and then they come back and say, it's too slow, it needs to be faster. So then we edit it until, both design and animation is happy. It just started with me, and then pretty quick we had Laure Retif on the team. She was helping out with BD1, which is an essential part of our game.
I've been working on BD1 for 3 years now. He's very interesting to animate because he doesn't have a face where he can express emotions. It's mostly in the head movements and the antenna, a little bit like a dog. He's always curious about everything, so he wants to jump off and go anywhere, just run around and find stuff.
The reason for having BD in the first place was that it's a single-player traditional game, but we wanted to add all the dialogues and the interactions between two characters, and one of the solutions was to have a droid who could emote. And in Star Wars, droids are more than just machines, they're full-out characters. They evoke emotions.
I've just about had enough of you.
The idea of BD1 being cautious in regards to himself is super unlikely, because BD1 will basically run at death.
I think a lot of BD1 stuff isn't so much as a game mechanic, it's more just as a kind of friendship.
Yeah.
It's the feeling that you've got this friend that's accompanying you on the journey.
Well, I suppose the secret of BD1 is solving the problem of how to get something mechanical and robotic to sound kind of like a being, something with a heart. Part of the reason why we hired Ben Burt was that he's the expert on that very thing.
So the idea came up to really combine this human sound with the electronic sound. That way we still might be able to have the character of a machine, but get the personality and the emotion of a living organism.
The way Ben will work on things is he'll do it with his voice first, and then he'll add synthesizer sounds to that and kind of track what he's doing with his voice using the synthesizer.
Having the little guy get on your back was an idea that was pulled from when Luke carries Yoda on Dagobah and he's training. It also ties really well with our game because at any point the droid can look around and go, hey, look at that wall. Like, here's information about this thing.
For the AI part, I have made a system that supports like hack doors or like we want to investigate bodies. It's basically the POI system is driving the BD.
POI stands for point of interest. We use it as a way of attracting AI characters to certain spots in the world. So for BD1, we use it for whenever he wants to scan something or overcharge a power generator, he'll automatically detect its location in the world and start trying to move towards it if he's available for it.
In the Star Wars universe, droids are some of the most iconic characters that we can offer fans. Having the opportunity to model and texture and be part of bringing BD1 to life was a huge honor. This is my original Star Wars figure collection from when I was a kid. C-3PO was the first action figure that my dad ever bought me, which kind of propelled me into this career of art. And that was in 1978. So that figure up top is 41 years old at this point. Now, the day that I actually get an action figure of BD1, then my life has become full circle. Then I have my own Star Wars figure that actually contributed to.
In the way you have like a combat designer or a level designer, we have narrative designers that approach it from a narrative standpoint.
Okay, so we're gonna check out a rehearsal video for Befriend Marin. They're not friends, they're not allies, but they kind of realize that they're not enemies.
I'm the narrative lead on Jedi Fallen Order. I am responsible for all things narrative in the game, writing, VO, cinematics, and then narrative features.
Since writing this and recording those, her first couple scenes, she's imperious, and she's very much like, this is my place, you can't come here. But in the early rehearsal, she'd been much more like, go away, right? And like really aggro out the gate, and I wanted to avoid that.
So one thing just to bear in mind is that like to get a lot of attention on this thing, it's got to go through him, right? So it's like I'm wondering if, especially in light of the fact the last time we saw her, she summoned an army of these creatures that bear down on him and almost ripped into pieces, right?
Do you want him to like pop? Like is he
Yeah, I think
igniting and everything?
He's not a fool.
So we're getting towards our real deadline for being done with all the writing for the game. It's coming down to the wire.
What's on the schedule for Thursday?
Thursday is the Malicos scenes we're shooting, and then we're doing stunts Friday.
Performance capture is basically where you film the cinematics of the game, and they're running around the set, swinging plastic lightsabers at each other. You're also capturing facial animation on set.
Lightsaber dueling is as cool as what it sounds. It's what every kid wants to do. I know for me, we would be on the playground smacking each other with sticks, you know, pretending to be Jedi, and it's kind of surreal that I actually get to do it.
Doing performance capture is the most freeing thing that any actor could ask for, because you're bound by nothing except the lack of talent, in my case. This is fine. It's gonna be okay.
With Star Wars, there is a language and a tone and everything that's been said before, but I think what's very important was with every new piece within the universe, you want to be able to bring in your own personality.
Cal was a Padawan when the Jedi Order fell during Order 66, and he's been living in hiding since then. Order 66 is when Palpatine, who was the Supreme Chancellor of the Republic, pulls a coup and becomes the Emperor.
Cal is a person who's on the light side of the Force, but that being said, Cal's relationship to the Force is pretty volatile. He was not finished with his training when the Purge happened, so he has a lot of trauma that's associated with the usage of the Force, and basically every time he taps into it, it's a bit explosive and tends to lose control.
I view story as being part of the gameplay experience, and the goal is to make it as seamless as possible so that it feels like this fluid, custom living world.
So coming in here is where we will then see where Order 66. Is that you'll be able to parry, blast back at them, door slam shut, very Star Warsy. We'll see if we can pull that off.
We knew it was time to sort of like pull the lid off the game and show it to the public. We didn't want to reveal gameplay until gameplay was ready to be revealed, and we wanted to do that at a game-focused event like E3 and EA Play. And what we had to show was story and narrative. But we sort of had the opportunity to unveil the game at the peak Star Wars event of the year.
For Star Wars Celebration, as we moved forward with the trailer, there was a lot of schedule adjustments, so it was really difficult trying to balance all of that.
So we had our internal planning when it came to like what kind of characters we would have done at certain months. But for the trailer, so we have all these stuff that we need for Braca that we're planning to do later, but we need to do ASAP.
Star Wars Celebration really brought up the motivation for everybody. It kind of turned the switch on, thinking about the past years of all the work that we put in, growing from like 30 people to we have about 140 people right now.
Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was announced last year, but up until now, not much has been known about the game.
Well, that all changed yesterday when EA finally revealed both a teaser image and the official logo of the game. What does it mean?
Hopefully we'll get answers this Saturday, April 13th at 1:30 p.m. Central Time during EA's Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order panel.
If you guys aren't familiar with Star Wars Celebration,
Wow. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Star Wars Celebration.
Hearing their cheer, as much as I was nervous, I really felt like this is my responsibility to get this right and deliver, what is expected. Myself, everybody on this panel, and everybody back at Respawn in Los Angeles, we're putting our heart and soul into this game, so we really can't wait to show you more. Right at the end when the logo reveals, I get goosebumps too, so I just can't wait to see the reaction.
Wasn't always like this.
Execute Order 66.
We work so much and we're making a game and we get caught up in dealing with the vicissitudes of development. But then sometimes, like today, all that washes away and you're just like, you're a kid again.
People are excited about this game, and we're really going to ship in November.
My message directly to the team is, here we are. This is real, and it doesn't get any bigger than this. This is a very special opportunity that we have, and I'm confident that we're all going to do it together and have a great game.
It was exciting. It was a fun weekend, seeing all that stuff.
Yeah.
Just seeing the reaction online, kind of seeing the change in reaction right away that people didn't quite know what to think. Then you could just see the swell of like support for it and excitement for it. Initially there was that, there's no gameplay kind of downside, which we knew we would get, but we've got gameplay.
I'm Jeff Majors, lead level designer. The level designers put together the game, kind of define what the areas are in the game, what the challenges are we're going to put in front of the player, what environments are we going to go to, what puzzles are we going to do, what combat encounters the player is going to experience.
In 4 months, Respawn needs to be ready to ship this game. But before they ship it, they need a locked and stable build to test at UXR. With the next UXR around the corner, they still have a lot to incorporate into this game.
UXR is user experience research. It's where we playtest the game. So we find people outside of the studio to play our game blind. And it's really the first time we can kind of get a gut check of where we are and where we need to go.
The ledges were just all crazy, so like we got to make all this clean. And so we spent the last few days doing that for the UXR areas.
Finding the fun is a lot about iteration. When you're building a level, the level designer will be working on it for 6 months from start to finish. And this is for like a 30 or 45-minute section of the game. It's really about zooming in on all the little moments and details and kind of obsessing over every little moment and thinking what is going to be best for the player at any given time. This whole area here, we just have spiders.
It's all spiders.
So we need to do something to make it. It feels a little dull. And we're gonna do a damage pass on these guys, right, Jason?
There's a lot of factors, right, that make lightsaber combat rewarding. It's the encounter, who's in the encounter, how fast do they die, how good does it feel for them to block your lightsaber or counter you, all those little details and actions. That's the stuff that I always want to like try to improve and make sure every AI is doing their job.
Once we get this first pass in, I want you guys to just like play it over and over again, like play that one fight like 10 times in a row, move a guy a meter, play a fight again, die to that fight, try to play it a different way. Like noodle the out of it. Like, yeah. Cool. Thanks guys, good work. Just polish over the next week.
The core focus is make a game that reacts really well. How good a game feels has a lot to do with reducing the layers of interference between what the player wants to do and what the game does out of it.
At the very beginning, the UI team was just Kevin and I. We had to make sure that we kept each and every part of the map close to Star Wars. Kevin and I went through each and every Star Wars film, looked at each hologram, see which one we wanted to be like. We were able to be very collaborative, exploring how we want the player to feel when they're using the map.
Kind of like the idea of we show wall runs just as part of the geo. We want to make sure that like if you're looking for it, you can see it. We should be looking at like the larger game, especially considering that that's what this UXR is all about.
I like my team to focus first and foremost on gameplay, and first and foremost on what is going to be the fun thing. And then if we're thinking of how it matches kind of the Star Wars universe, we should have that in our mind as well, but that should be secondary to making the gameplay and space feel fun.
We just pull random people from the team and just sit back and watch them play it, and we just chat about it and kind of hear their thoughts. We get a lot of the first obvious feedback from these internal playtests.
What happened?
Well, I went pretty good, I think, except for that one spot. One spot's a disaster.
With a game this size and with this many people working on it and with the polish level that we want to hit for when we playtest the game, there's just a lot left to do.
I mean, when it works, I like it, but it seems like it works. It's broken more than it's working.
Right now,
yes. Okay.
If we want him to have this kind of motion, some of the pivot, it feels like the pivots are triggering too easily now in my mind, and I want to pull back on them some now. And the more we pull back on them, the less they're going to start triggering when we don't want them to trigger.
The pivots are just to sell the idea that if you're turning hard, then you get an animation response to that.
Bruce and Fabrice had started developing the system that would allow this high fidelity animation, but not sacrifice responsiveness. And then it's up to me to make that animation sort of reassemble itself appropriately inside the engine. A lot of games that are as responsive as ours aren't quite as nuanced. It's difficult to pull off the animation fidelity, but still have them move at these superhuman speeds and reactivity.
How do you really find something that's fun? I don't really know that there's an answer to that other than just you keep on trying. You keep on iterating. It's usually good to have some type of guiding light. I'm just a sucker for David versus Goliath. Cal going up against the entire empire and the entire galaxy. He's also going up against these giant mythical beasts.
So this is the gigantic like bat boss fight, Dathomir. It's a 3-phase boss fight that we've got lined up. Basically, as the player's going through Dathomir, you'll get some previs of a bat flying by and stuff happening, picking up night bros and things like that. Eventually the path kind of narrows you down into this kind of a section, and then this is kind of where we first encounter the bat. All of a sudden, boom! A huge, gigantic bat comes in.
Are you introducing boss names? Like when they pop up, are you going to be like, big blind bat on the screen?
Yes, we are. Good question. Yeah. A little bit wounded, is not a fan of yours right now. And he's like, I couldn't kill you in this cave, but out here, I win. Eventually, he snatches you off of that mountain. He crashes into stuff, and you actually become disconnected from him in midair. You enter this kind of free-fall Patrick Swayze awesomeness. And boom, you latch back on. So he jumps out, and as the bat's just flying around, so you have to steer around and then grab him in order to kind of use him. So you use the bat to get down off of this gigantic mountain that you'd been scaling and fighting him along.
Why is there a cut every single time he attaches?
To that bar as well.
Designers will use Legos to make levels. We make the Lego bricks. That's what a programmer does.
I spend a lot of time looking at the Star Wars films, trying to get the kind of look and feel of what Star Wars looks like. I found some references from the old camera lenses that were used in those original Star Wars films, which were Panavision, so they were anamorphic, so that all the things like the depth of field, even down to our film grain, everything gets that scaling and stretching, which gives it that kind of filmic look really makes it just a little bit closer to the films.
Respawn wanted the Force Flow ability as a foundation for their combat for the game. So we worked with them to translate that ability to make it fit within the Star Wars universe.
Cal, his main power is slowing something down. That's something we went back and forth with Lucas. Oh, he's doing this too fast. He's casting too fast. Yeah, because that's what feels good in gameplay. So we had to kind of come to this compromise where you hold the button down for 3 seconds, then he'll force slow longer, right? Somebody will be slowed longer.
Cal has to show that he's exerting himself and his ability to control the Force, to use the Force. Really straining and really being strong with his hand. We want to make sure whenever he uses power, it's not magic. He's actually, his physical ability and his skill with the Force is allowing him to do this manifestation.
Colors and everything that you've applied in the breakup all seems correct. So that, the details there.
Your concern here is more about getting the helmet shape to fit right and then getting the color.
Yeah, so he feels intimidating. If you take this straight down and you incorporate this going around, like, and you get those straight shoulders, really pinhead, I think it's cool. It's just pulling in the final edits, and we call it a day. Shake hands, high five.
I work alongside concept and the game design to flesh out the overall look and feel of the planet and the environment. When we get approval from Lucasfilm on something that I've created, I mean, it's really makes my day. You know, Hez or something comes in and then says like, oh, that looks really awesome, or like, that's such a great Star Wars moment. I mean, that feels really good, right? Because you're like, oh, I nailed it.
This is right here is beautiful. Sometimes it's finding ways to support different people's opinions and making sure like they're what they start, you make sure it goes through.
And talking through it just helps because we're all lifting Star Wars up.
Yeah.
By doing that, we have to support what Star Wars is as well, and find those elegant solutions for, as we always say, complex Star Wars problems is what we can do by working together.
What are we going to look at today?
So we have force targeting, which got updated and is now showing a highlight. So we should talk about that. Something we're trying is it's just an outline on these guys. It's pretty subtle.
I don't know if I want an outline around every enemy that you're engaging with the entire game. I guess I don't know if I've felt like I've needed this. What are we doing wrong that other games don't have that? I mean, we have force powers that other games don't have, but like...
Right. My thinking right now is we should take this to UXR and see what the feedback is.
Can I play a little bit? To be honest, when I'm playing it, it's not bothering me as much because it is a really subtle effect. But if it's so subtle, is it even doing anything for us?
Seems like it could be off for 90% of the game.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. We're going to turn something on for 100% of the game that could really be off for 90% of the game. Right. I don't know if that's the...
Sig doesn't come in and dictate. It's more, he can come in and be like, okay, well, here's what I'm seeing for the game from a bigger vision than what just the story, just the art. So like, how can we make it all work? A lot of compromising, yeah.
That would trigger the cinematic the first time. And we go into this cinematic where you save the two rebels on Parsons.
Do you kill people in a cinematic? We don't do that anywhere.
Is this the one that you and Aaron were talking about a couple weeks ago when we were going through cuts?
Yeah, he said we were going to do this in gameplay, not in a real cinematic. Like, we're going to find a different way to do
We
this.
can't kill somebody in a cinematic.
Yeah. We just want to go from enemy to enemy and feel like you're in real time taking out 5 guys in a row. But if there's an intro cutscene or some kind of like long delayed moment that breaks that pacing, then to some players that's going to be a bad reaction. But we're making a Star Wars game that's very story driven and cinematic, so that's kind of the new wrinkle.
Well, we should sync back with Aaron on this one.
Aaron and John have been working really hard to get all of the PCAP going and getting all of our scenes shot. But there's a huge task of implementing all of those in-game.
Cinematics is something that we started later than everything else. Getting a script through, Lucasfilm is just completely dialed into this. This is a Star Wars story, and it took a long time. It took a ton of effort. The team was just kind of focused on making a game. I think we all kind of miscalculated how long it was going to take to make the story. We have a mountain of cinematics that we have to get in the game. Each one is challenging.
A lot of cutscenes take place while we're doing planet hopping, while we're streaming in and out different levels, while we're loading things in the background. There's a lot of complex game logic and complex technical things that go on during these cinematics. So to get all of these at the highest fidelity that we want, the time's running out.
I know the team that's working on it is extremely dedicated. They've been on basically a mission, just shooting all the PCAP. I know the story's good, but it comes down to execution.
What goes into here is such heart and such soul, such work. You have to capture the reality. You have to capture the truth. You have to capture the transparency. You will be tested.
Yeah. But I'm ready for this.
I don't mean just here. Every Jedi faces the dark side. And it's very easy to fail.
One of the biggest themes in this is nobody is perfect, and maturing and trusting the Force means you have to allow mistakes and even have to allow that maybe the mistakes are okay.
You're still struggling, even after cutting yourself off from the Force.
Failure is something that we tend to define ourselves by, and we tend to hold on to failure stronger than nearly any other emotion. It's what creates change within us.
We will always struggle. But that is the test. It's the choice to keep fighting that makes us who we are.
So when Cere hands him her lightsaber, it's on the one hand a functional thing because we want the hero's lightsaber to eventually have ingredients from Jarl Tapal's, his former dead master's lightsaber, and the ingredients from Cere Junda's, his new mentor's lightsaber as well. From a character perspective, Cere's warning him. She's saying, even if you succeed here on Ilum, even if you succeed tomorrow, next month, there's a challenge every day you wake up, and it's really easy to fail. And when you do fail, there could be consequences. So it's kind of a word of warning. Even though she's encouraging him to go out there and get back on the horse, find a kyber crystal, she's saying there will never not be hills and challenges. It never gets easier, you just get stronger.
Cut. So they'll give us something like this, very, very rough. And we'll start timing out the edit, the action, make sure everything flows, and get it approved. And then it'll go to the actual animation team.
Tomorrow's lock. Or, yeah, I mean, really it's like however late people work tonight, it's tomorrow morning's lock. Things are always breaking, but once we lock things down, it becomes easier to track what's breaking what. So tomorrow we're gonna lock things down. You know, people have a lot invested, so they're trying to get the things that we know are bugs that we want to get in, but also are polished, but also things individually that people want to get in to make it as good as it can be.
Bugs let you know like what you need to fix to ship the game. Bugs is the friction that players will experience, and you want to reduce as much friction as possible.
From what I've heard, the build has become progressively more unstable. We locked at 4 p.m. and now the focus is just trying to get a stable build. Everyone's kind of on fire right now, so see how it goes.
Blair
is the person.
Okay.
He is the producer tracking all of UXR.
First comes stability. So anything that actually just breaks the game from a progression standpoint, we call it 0, and it has to get fixed because the player you can't beat the level or the creature or whatever it is. The closer and closer you get to the deadline, you just start to triage things out that aren't as important to the player experience. And then I work with the QA lead and the lead level designer to be like, of these 10 things on you or on your team, which do you think is the most important?
He's taking a look at the whole list of bugs and goes in and prods people and asks them like progress.
So we're waiting Monacy to fix one more change. She's testing it.
Just like twiddling your thumb like for a bit.
Yeah, she's yeah, just essentially waiting so we can kick off the build. So we have one right now. We have one bug left.
One bug left. And that's the one that shipped?
Yep. That's it. Yeah. Down to one.
Down to one.
So I'm gonna have to.
Wait, so who's working on it?
Monacy.
Can we look from afar?
You cannot. She's a programmer. She's in the zone. Production update, yay. I actually just wanted to thank everybody. I know I've been bothering, I think, everybody here almost, except Aaron, about UXR stuff. I originally set what I thought was, I essentially set us up to fail. I put too much in the UXR build. kind of knowingly, just to see how far we can push stuff. You guys got it all in, and it's working, and it's a huge amount of game, and it sets us up for alpha amazingly. I've never been more proud to be part of a team of such like amazing developers. You closed 750 bugs over 3 weeks. So thank you. I know there's lots of learnings for how we can make this process easier and better. I'm sure not everybody's super happy with me right now, but you did something really amazing. So thanks.
What is happening here?
I mean, I think the greatest part of it is each individual has their task and they believe that they can get it done. They look at the schedule and they believe they can get it done, but they're skeptical. It's natural for them to not know if other people are in the same place because they're not as connected to other people's work. So they might feel like, hey, I'm doing everything I can to make my part good, but it can't be good if other people's parts aren't good. Then that just comes down to communication. It becomes really hard to communicate what everybody's doing all the time. Like I said, it's natural that until we've gone through this together and people see like, oh wow, everybody else kind of lifted their own weight, got it done, and this product is shining together, people will remember that. The game is looking kick-ass. That's it. For me, I still try to, like, if there's things that really shouldn't go in after lock, but people really want to get them in, and I want to get them in, I try to work with code and production to make a case for why we should try to get these things in. Next Tuesday, we're branching, so we'll open up the tree again and everybody can start dumping all their normal work in and the game will break again. But we'll have a branched version of the game that we can really be very careful about what we're inserting in that, because we're just going to be chasing stability at that point. Branch is what we'll use for E3.
E3 for several decades now has been one of the most important moments in the calendar year for the video game industry. EA Play happens the weekend before E3 officially starts, so we kind of get ahead of all the noise and are able to show people our games and get their reactions and get that conversation going.
Gamers nowadays aren't going to make up their mind and form a definitive opinion until we show them gameplay. So this is going to be the biggest inflection point in terms of sentiment in our entire campaign. We want to show them what they want. This raw, unedited demo that's going to prove that we're delivering the goods.
Pretty much everybody I talked to about it is like, do not show the AT-AT for the first thing that we ever show. Mm-hmm. Because we don't want to give the impression that we're, some just climbing around Lara Croft game, because that's not what we are. This is a moment in our game, but most of what you're doing is going around and kicking ass with a lightsaber.
Right.
And I worry when I hear that there's, like basically the first thing that anybody's going to see is not going to represent 99% of our game.
Right.
For EA Play, we really wanted to give people what we thought they wanted. It was the first time we were going to do live gameplay. We didn't take sections of the videos. It was like essentially me in a room for the weekend, and I played it until I nailed it, and then I played it again until I nailed it again, and we sent those two off, and there was like thumbs up on that.
This is video that would be feel like straight gameplay. Like there's no one on stage playing, but it's not like there are a bunch of cuts and edits like jumping ahead or back or anything like that. It's kind of straight from meeting Saw, continuous all the way through to the Purge Trooper fight.
Yes.
Cool.
That start was made for the first thing for us to show to public. That's because it was supposed to be an EA Play as a purpose.
Just because we have to get booking for E3 stuff, are you guys 100% sure we don't want to let press have hands-on?
From the very inception of our E3 demo, the plan, what I always wanted to do, and I messaged it very clearly to the team, is that it's hands-on. But then as the realities of game making really start to take effect, being hands-on becomes a little bit riskier. And it's risky because it's got to be nearly bulletproof. It's going to be considerable greater resources and bug fixes and testing to just let anybody get their hands on the game.
As someone who's been marketing Respawn games for a while, there's so much that's hard to communicate about how controls feel that you just can't get across in, like if I could tell you a million times, like it feels really great to play, it feels like you forget the controller's there. Everyone we brought in to actually like play with this thing, even UXR, like it's like, oh.
We're going to be planning these big E3 media events. We better be careful. And I don't want to get in a situation where we have to cancel something that we've spent a lot of money and put a lot of investment into if we're just not going to be able to do it.
I know it'll be like a late last minute call, but just I need to put that value out.
There was just no way that we could guarantee that we're going to go hands-on with this. It looked like the only time we were really going to get clarity on that would be maybe a week or two before E3.
We're just going to get a behind the closed doors room for press and judges to get hands-on, but if we don't use them, we'll just use them for interview rooms.
Yes.
It might be more expensive, but then it's fine. Yeah.
I could get behind that. New game, biggest IP in the world. First time we're showing gameplay. One thing this team has shown and proven through history is that they come through at the end.
So E3, we're trying to get like a finished version of the game, and we're not yet at that point. So we're trying to get a representation that feels natural. The purpose of Kashyyyk is to show the juxtaposition of the virus of the Imperial destroying all the planet Kashyyyk and its natural beauty is trying to fight back. Right now we're just working on optimization, trying to make sure it all runs and looks good in the demo.
Kind of in that phase of the project that we're in, optimization. Basically, people come into my office and say, hey, do you want to see something? And it's always something bad. And I go and fix it. And so we can see with this view how many triangles we're using in places. So anywhere that we start to get these really dense clusters, that's something we need to look at and think, we're spending too many triangles here, so we might want to reduce the amount of. When you get to that point for E3, we have to make sure we have all of our graphics all up and running and all looking good enough to show to the public. And then you get a little glimpse of what the game's going to look like when it comes out at the end of the year.
Today I'm making sure the climb animation looks good. There's a request coming from design that some of those moves are just too slow, and I'm speeding it up. Right now I'm looking at the jumps. They take too much time recovering from jump to actual navigation on the wall. It needs to feel right, otherwise, it's not a game, it's a movie.
I think we're going to be able to go hands-on with the whole thing, not just a fraction of the demo.
As much as we wanted to polish and make it look pretty and make it feel like it's the final game, we also needed to make sure that nothing is breaking when we hand the controller over to these press.
In regards to what's riding for this demo, everything, all the hard work that the entire team's putting into this game, if we it up, it's all for nothing. It's a meaty demo. It's not just a small section of gameplay, which is important to us. We wanted people to really see the game isn't just this small section. It's like this is like all of our main systems working, and people can project and how that expands into a much larger game. So this impression is incredibly important. If we bomb it, it could be devastating.
Start it over.
Yep. We're trying to get one contiguous take, so it's all real. No edits, no cuts. We're just trying to do it in one take. So getting all those perfect combats in one playthrough, a little bit more challenging. We really wanted to represent, this is the game how it is now.
Tomorrow's our big reveal day. Saturday morning, 1 hour prior, our second social teaser goes live in social. And then 9:30, we take center stage, we open EA Play.
By the way, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it to EA Play.
Like on Saturday at all?
I didn't register. Start over.
I start with asking people on the team whose content I'm gonna play through, what do you want to show off? But when you start playing, it's a live game and our AI works how our AI works for the real game. I'm trying to do a cool move, but during that, a spider jumps on me and breaks the flow. The longer the demo goes, the more risk.
That guy that's next to the door, you can sprint and do like uppercut at him. Oh God, that's the kind of thing that's just a heartbreaker. There's other things that can happen that have nothing to do with the game, like you've got like a really weird itch or something like that. You're in the middle of something, it's like you gotta scratch this.
I just want to, I want to show this to the team and have them be like, oh, that's it.
You know, it's okay to just play. Like, just go in and just like, I'm playing the game. It's EA Play. We're about to unveil gameplay to the world. Just hope everybody loves it.
My hands won't falter.
Of Respawn, Vince Zampella, and the director of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Stig Asmussen. Everybody give it up for Vince and Stig, come on! Keep it going, they're making a Star Wars game. Guys, welcome to EA Play.
Yeah, this is something that Stig and I have been envisioning for years, to see it come to life and be able to show you guys 15 minutes of gameplay today. Uncut.
All right. So everybody's anxious to see what this 15 minutes is going to be. They'd like to see the game. We've gone on long enough. We're not going to drone.
Let's do it.
Vince,
well, let's roll.
Would you like to kick it off?
Let's go.
Oh!
Yes. More of that.
Nice.
Gonna need to get through here.
What do we think? What do we think, EA Play?
I didn't get any sense that there was anything going wrong at EA Play. But I started reading all the different articles that were a little confused on what we showed.
With the EA Play gameplay reveal, there was a bit of misconception over what our game was.
The gameplay we saw at E3 underwhelmed some people who thought it looked fairly generic.
Yeah, it felt like a pretty standard linear action game, maybe even a little Uncharted-ish with lots of climbing and melee combat.
We wanted to showcase every ability we could and show off all the cool moves. In hindsight, we probably should have just put it on hard because it did make the game seem a lot easier.
We wanted to hit a slice of the game that showed off the core lightsaber elements, but in doing so, we kind of missed the opportunity to show everyone our nonlinear structure, our Metroidvania level design, our planet hopping, interactions with the crew, these big set piece moments.
The only way you can feel how good the game is to get your hands on the controls. That's the only way.
E3 2019. I am going to be behind closed doors, giving demos and hands-on to various press people and potential E3 judges. I hope everybody just loves the the authenticity we're trying to bring to Star Wars. Hopefully the time and the effort we put in this game is shown, so people respect that. That's the goal.
I was skeptical, I won't deny that, but Respawn is definitely amazing with gameplay and with story. So I mean, who even knows like what's gonna be like? I'm hooked. I'm into it.
We're having a press, like IGN, Game Informer. It's basically like 30 minutes block of time, and we're just getting press in to try out the game.
It does feel good to play. So there is a lot of depth to the combat system. I do not think the combat in this game is going to get boring anytime soon.
Once anyone gets their hands on the game, they fall in love with it.
The biggest takeaway I got from the brief hands-on experience I had was that the combat is very satisfying and challenging.
Everything has been very, very positive. You see people walk in looking pretty tired and exhausted, and they walk out with a huge smile on their face. So that's what we want to see.
The combat feels great. It's like you would expect from Respawn. It seems like there's a lot of growth in his abilities. You will get new force powers as the game goes on. I can't wait to see where it goes.
So many people have walked out of here going like, okay, I see where we're going with this.
When you actually play, the game flows exceptionally well. Though we only played for 5 minutes, I found the demo to be extremely fun. I feel like once you get your hands on it, you'll feel as I do.
Whenever I run into any of my coworkers, I've been trying to tell them like how well it's going, because they might just be reading this online thread still, and that's it.
It's been exciting to see people finally get their hands on it, get real reactions.
Don't look at me, look at that. It's so good.
It's been a wild week. Still trying to process it, and feels really good right now.
These last 3 days I've been fully focused on E3, but tomorrow back to work. We gotta finish the game.
This is it, the final stretch of a 4-year journey.
I'll be working on the lightsaber probably until the day that they tell me I can't work on it anymore. This project has been a little different. We've been working in harmony with all the other departments going up until the end of the project, so we've gotten in a lot earlier than normally might happen in the game pipeline, making the lightsaber feel authentic. So, it's basically a glowing tube when it's still. But, when it's moving is a lot of the kind of the iconic look. So getting the right eye slice, having the right angle, not like a flag, and then having the atmospheric glow around it. Working closely with combat, obviously. The lightsaber interaction stuff, that's got a lot of our focus. It's a lightsaber game, so it has to be.
We are putting the final details, the final finesses on all the elements we can. It's all wrapping up, and it's exciting. The things that were minor months ago are now major.
Cool, yeah. So right now I'm just trying to figure out how to get this graphic design to match this image. So I did get to do a pass on the logo. He has added manual streaks and wear and tear by hand.
Awesome.
Of course.
When when he's holding Prof, I don't know if the force feedback can rumble harder.
We can do that. We can make the sound.
So it feels like I'm holding Prof, and now I'm holding the barge, and I'm really straining here. Yeah, sitting 5 weeks away from boxing the game up and sending it off, one word that comes to mind is tired, but also
And you're not alone. Not anymore.
We're coming up on our destination.
Biggest hopes for the game, you know, there's a lot of them. I would say that when we started this, we wanted to make, you know, this Star Wars action-adventure story game that we haven't seen in a long time. And we wanted to make the best one that we could possibly make. I really hope we do that. My biggest hopes are a lot more basic than that. I just want, you know, the whole team to have all this energy that they put into it and their love for Star Wars to be worth something, and for this to be a game that they're really proud of.